Today I'm going to talk about being a bad seed. It's just something that I was thinking about on my run this morning. A lot of times when I run in the morning, I'm just in this kind of reverie, just daydreaming. So this morning I was thinking about my past. And I've been doing that a lot lately, thinking about my childhood and my past, and it's really unusual because I don't think about it too much. I'm generally projecting into the future. But I've just been realizing some things and putting things together and remembering things from my past and sort of seeing them from a new adult perspective. You know, maybe every 5 or 10 years you might make some connection or integrate something from your past. And I feel like maybe that's what's happening now. I was born in Texas. I lived in a place called Mesquite. It's a suburb of Dallas. As you can see, I'm just a pretty little white girl. I'm a small person. I'm a soft person. I'm very unassertive. Even more so when I was younger. I'm maybe a little bit more assertive in my 40s because I'm learning how to stick up for myself. I'm learning how to at least say what I think and what I believe and what my boundaries are, even if it doesn't feel very good. It still doesn't feel very great for me to assert my boundaries, but I have to do it because I'm an adult and I have to take care of myself. It's my responsibility. But anyway, a small, soft, unassertive little white girl with, blonde curly hair, really non-threatening. But this theme that occurred over and over again in my childhood was that I was the bad seed. I was the bad influence. And this was not what I got from my parents, but from the tribe. So I can remember, I think, 3, maybe 4 instances that demonstrate this. One of them was a neighborhood friend that I hung out with, another girl. We hung out just a little bit, not much. And I remember in her household, she said, "Yes, sir," "Yes, ma'am," to her parents. And I'm not sure, but I think I remember her instructing me on that. Like she said to me, in our house, we say yes, ma'am, and we say yes, sir. It's mandatory. And I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And I remember just thinking, that's something is very creepy about that. That struck me as very creepy. I don't know how I articulated it to her because I don't think I was very articulate when I was that age. I could sort of conceptualize things pre-verbally, I guess. I couldn't find the words to say that's a little weird or that's a little creepy. But I guess in retrospect, what I thought was weird or creepy was that's not really respect. If you require your child to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, you're training them like a trained monkey. It's not real respect. Just because someone says yes, sir, that absolutely does not mean that they respect you. They're just training you to behave in a certain way and say certain things. Even at that age, I felt like respect was something that you earned by being a certain way, behaving a certain way. It wasn't just because you were old or just because you were the boss or just because you're my mom. And so I think I questioned it. I said something like, really, why? Why did they do that? Why? I don't get it. I don't understand. Explain this to me. And then I just said something to that effect, but that's not real. Something like that. Well then, sure enough, a few days later, I was informed that I was not allowed to play with her anymore. So somehow that got back to her parents and she was no longer allowed to play with me. And this was a recurring theme in my childhood. I'm nice. I'm a nice little girl. And all these people just thought that I was bad seed. So there was another time when I had a really good friend named Georgia, and we spent a lot of time together. There was something that her mother wanted to do, but her grandparents, the mother's parents, said, no, you shouldn't do that. You need to do this. And so the mother changed her plan and was going to adhere to the wishes of her parents. And I remember saying something like, that's kind of weird. So your mom does what her parents tell her to do, no matter what, even if she wants to do something else? Because she's a grown-up, right? She's a fully formed adult with 2 children. So why does she still do what her parents tell her to do, even when she doesn't want to do it? I just didn't understand. I was trying to make sense of it. And then sure enough, a couple days later, I was informed that I was not allowed to play with her anymore. Her mom didn't want her daughter playing with me because I'm a bad influence. There was another time I was quite a bit older, maybe 12 or 13, and we went on a family trip to Hot Springs, Arkansas. There's a lot of like healing there, like natural springs that are supposed to be healing. Massage and spa stuff is really big there, and shops with like crystals and geodes and stuff. And I thought crystals are really pretty, and I was reading a little bit about crystals, and some people believe in the healing power of crystals. And I bought a little crystal and I wore it around my neck. And then I got home from that trip and I was at a friend's house. Her mom came in and sat us down and she wanted to talk to me. And she wanted to let me know that crystals were potentially satanic. It's not Christian to wear crystals. It could maybe bring evil into her house, could bring evil to me, it could hurt me. Just very not good to wear crystals. So again, I was not very good at articulating what I thought was so weird about that because I'm actually not great at logical thinking. I've developed logical reasoning over time, as you do when you're in school. I've been to university. I can, write a paper, all that stuff. That requires logical reasoning. So I remember back then, I don't know what I said or if I was able to counter the argument because I don't argue. And a lot of times I can't counter the argument until maybe like later when I've had some time to process it and think about it. And then I can write it down and I can counter the argument. But like extemporaneously, no, I can't do that. I just don't argue back and forth with people. I don't know how. I can't keep up, They're going to talk me into a corner every time. But in retrospect, I'm thinking, wow, so your God, who supposedly created this earth and created this crystal, doesn't want me to wear this crystal or touch this crystal because it's evil. That makes absolutely no sense. And furthermore, if your God is so almighty and loving and protecting, why would he think something so trivial as a crystal is gonna like throw a monkey wrench into the whole works? Like, how is this crystal gonna fuck things up? It's just like a rock from the earth. So I was just remembering that, and I feel kind of sad for my little self who was sort of demonized in that way by people. And my reaction, I think, as with any kind of friction with the tribe or other people, is to just withdraw. Like, I don't fight back at all. It's just kind of like, well, making friends is kind of a trap. So my reaction is to just become avoidant and withdraw because I don't have like a high need for companionship. It doesn't motivate me. Like vibing with other people and being accepted. I want to be accepted by people, but not enough to not be true to myself. I've been reflecting on that a lot too. I think it sounds nice theoretically to have friends, but like in reality, it's a pain in the ass. A potential friend might not be comfortable with planning and they might require me to be flexible, and I don't want to be flexible. So I'm thinking mostly about like time and scheduling. Like a friend might call and say, hey, do you want to go get a cup of coffee? And I'm like, oh, sure. How about next Tuesday? And they're like, no, like now, like this afternoon. No, I'm not doing that. And I think that other people are really frustrated by that. So like, it would be nice to have a friend theoretically, but I'm not going to change myself in order to make that happen. So I think like, if I step outside of myself and look at that, technically like, yeah, that's probably a character flaw. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I'm 43, almost 43. I don't know that that's going to change. So I don't know. I was just thinking about that bizarre experience that I had, sort of a recurring pattern that I had in my childhood. I just learned that it was not okay to make astute observations like that. It's not okay to observe something a little weird about the culture and the society and to point that out. That's just not acceptable. I mean, I still do it. I question things. Now, as an adult, I feel comfortable questioning things. But there are certain things that I won't touch, even as an adult. When people are really fanatically patriotic and they romanticize war, like romanticize even bloodshed in war, sacrifice, when our side sacrifices, of course, they romanticize it so much. And that honestly makes me sick. I think that is pea-brained, if you want to know the truth. And you're not supposed to say that out loud. So I still have all these observations. Like, I notice a lot of them, and sometimes I vocalize them, sometimes I don't. I don't ever really push the issue, but I think these things. And I wonder how many other people do too. Like, how many people are like questioning the status quo and not saying anything. I don't know. But I know that there's this like dangling carrot of fitting in with society and being social and being socially accepted that is so much more important to most other people that is just not important to me. I don't think I have a whole lot of enemies, but there's probably people that are like, oh, that girl's weird, or oh, I don't like her. I don't like what she posts online, or, stuff like that. And again, I prefer if people like me, but it's not so important that I could ever change myself for it, just to make the tribe feel better, Anyway, that's what I was thinking about on my morning run. And yeah.